to Elephant in the Room, part of Disrupt the Media on Roll Tide Pod's YouTube channel. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Share with your friends as we talk Alabama football along with former Alabama QB, national champion Jake Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie. A lot to talk about on the show. Before we get there, though, I want to remind you that we're brought to you by MyBookie, mybookie.ag, up to $1,000 price match. They'll match 50% of that with the promo code next round when you make that initial deposit. And a lot going on right now that you can bet on. College basketball, the NBA. How about the NFL playoffs, which we saw the first round of the playoffs go down and a lot of blowouts. Next week, though, the games will be a lot closer, I promise you. And if you need any help with those picks, swing by and check out Lance's Lock, lanceslock.com. That's Lance Taylor helping you with your picks. And honestly, with all the fun stuff going on, now's a great time to do that as well with so many big games. So check it out. All right, a lot to talk about. And good to see you, Jake. I mean, I feel like I haven't seen you in months. We just did a show Thursday.
Yeah, a lot going on between last Thursday and today, that's for sure. Been a whirlwind, a weird spot. 17 years of continuity outside of coordinators, and it just feels like a new place, you know?
Yeah, it does. It does. But, you know, I guess to just start with the search. I mean, last time you were here, you and Ryan Anderson, and we were all just kind of sitting around and reminiscing about Nick Saban. And, I mean, you guys played for him. I've covered him. And we all love him, you know, and he just kind of abruptly left. I mean, we have a lot more information now, you know, about him stepping out. And his daughter on Instagram said that she wasn't sure if he was going to when he left because he didn't know. And then apparently, you know, 2:00 last, Wednesday,
Yep.
He went in and had a meeting with his agent, Jimmy Sexton, who's everyone's agent. And then
Talk about a guy that's not hurting.
No, he's like, Nick's retiring. Woo, payday.
Yeah.
And then 4:00, he tells the team. He didn't tell the coaches. Apparently, they found out at the same time. And it's been, I said it like this on my channel. I feel like Alabama's been under an all-out assault by our rivals since then for our players and our coaches. And here we are. We hired Kalen DeBoer. I thought he did a great job at the press conference. Different tone, different personality.
Yep.
And then, you know, and now he's hiring coordinators. He got Ryan Grubb, who Alabama tried to hire a couple of years ago. And then yesterday he hired Kane Wommack.
Yep.
Not Wommack, even though it looks like that. Wommack. And he's coming. He actually left the South Alabama job to go up there and coach. So take a head coaching job to be a DC, but that tells you, you know, what Alabama's all about. And that's where we are right now.
Yeah, you know, it's I've got to know Kane over the last few years, and really, I mean, in my opinion, again, you never really know until about 2 years from
Right.
inception whether this is a good hire or not. I think Greg did as good a job as he possibly could have. Sounds like from what everybody's hearing, and again, I haven't spoken to Coach. I have no idea what all went down or how it was announced to everybody or how everything was communicated. Like you said, I think the coaches found out that day as well, the same day that we all found out. But when you're bringing in a guy who's 112-7 in college football,
I think he's 105-14 or something like that. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. I mean, a winner.
I mean, by all indications from everybody that he knows in terms of character, we already know he's a great football coach.
Right.
I mean, you've seen the way his teams play. I mean, you even watched that Michigan game. My gosh, there's some opportunities left out on the table by some plays that had broken protections or the ball was just a little off. I mean, they played a team that was physically more dominant than them, and they still provided an opportunity for their players to win the game. Mm-hmm. To me, in terms of pure football, this is one of the best hires you could have possibly gone out and made. I've spoken to a few people about this, and look, again, you can't make a better hire in terms of pure football. Is this going to make a splash in the Southeast? You got guys from different regions. I've throughout my college career, I've played for, my gosh, so many guys that are now head coaches. Bob Stoops. I mean, Coach Pruitt's not a head coach now, but he was. Lane Kiffin, Billy Napier. I mean, it's a very small community. Seems like everybody that plays out and picks up big jobs, and you kind of know where everybody is. So this is kind of just weird that we're not bringing a disciple in and everybody's unfamiliar, and that's what provides the fear in the future. But he just seems like a solid guy who's going to provide continuity. If he's successful, I think we got a chance. I'll never say that we'll have a run like we had when Coach Saban was here. I think that's impossible to make that prediction. And with the new landscape of college football, I don't think that's possible. But I think we're going to win a lot of games. I think we're going to be dominant. Again, like you said, Coach Grubb was the target last year in terms of who the OC was going to be.
Right.
I would be shocked if Coach Saban didn't put his stamp on DeBoer.
I understood he kind of gave a thumbs up on him.
Yeah, I think that from what I've learned, he had a handful of guys that he gave the thumbs up on, and he was one of those guys that was at the top of the list. Now that could be BS. It's all hearsay now, but
I don't think it is though.
I mean, you'd have to think also that was the case. I mean,
it has to be.
As close as him and Greg are, you'd have to think Coach Saban was like, here's the guys you need to go after. And he's watched plenty of film on Washington. You don't not watch film on a guy you're trying to hire, and that's the number one guy on your list. So I love it. I think it's a great hire. Kane, I mean, hell, he's been a head coach at South Alabama and turned South Alabama into a team that everybody talks about. Hell, they beat the shit out of Oklahoma State this year. They
did. Good old-fashioned country ass.
Oh, yeah. It was like 31-6, 34-6.
They had UCLA on the ropes last year.
Yeah.
And let them off the hook.
Yeah, went forward on fourth down, I think.
But I like that, though. Go for it.
I do, too. I could not be more excited about this group. It really all turns into, can we recruit in the Southeast? And I think we can, as long nobody cares where you're from, as long as you're a good guy and you're truthful about your intentions. And I think that's what DeBoer stands for. I know that's what Kane does. I know Kane's a great guy. He's a upstanding guy in Mobile. Everybody loves him. There's a lot of mad people in South Alabama because he's leaving, but who's going to turn down the DC job at Alabama? I mean, look at where the DCs at Alabama end up going for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as good as a head coaching job on a big stage for most of the country.
A couple things I noticed right away. The tone of Alabama football is going to be different. I don't think that Coach DeBoer is going to yell at the media in the press conferences. I miss those. I'm going to miss that.
Well, the thing that we're going to miss, it's like I watched the speech on the importance of nothing.
Yeah. I love those.
I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah. I remember all of them.
But, I mean, in the state of Alabama, we had press conferences during the week where you weren't just listening to a coach talk about players and personnel and what the game plan was. You had a guy who was a shining light in a community, in a region that was a cause for good for a lot of people, across the country, really. And so to lose a guy that's that influential in a good way, man, again, it feels like you're moving on from one hell of a time in the history of Alabama.
Yeah. Well, we are. I mean, there's no replacing him, but
because he was way more than a coach. I mean,
he was.
People looked at him without even knowing him as a leader and somebody that they followed.
I hope he's. I asked Chris Lowe about it, and he kind of gave me a list of things he thought Coach was going to do, and one of them was try to help save college football. Kind of have an influence on the direction of college football, and I hope that he does that. We talked about that on this show. I mean, I've heard that was. I mean, we need him. I don't think he thought he'd be coaching this long, and I thought, and I've
heard that there may have been some interest in like an SEC commissioner type job. So I can definitely see him trying to make college football a more manageable space, you know, which it wouldn't take much to get it there at this point because it's such a nightmare.
Yeah. One thing that I really like about Coach DeBoer is the loyalty to him that people that know him have, that they really believe in him, that they think he's a great guy, upstanding. I thought it was important that Alabama have a coach that represented the right values.
Yeah.
And there were some coaches in the mix, one in particular, at least people mentioned, that I just didn't think that matched what we needed in Tuscaloosa and represent our state, right? Not him, though. I mean, and you can tell because all of these coaches that have coached with him before are lining up to be part of this. You know, Grubb's like, I mean, I thought he was going to be the coach in Washington, and they got.
He may not be around Tuscaloosa for very long, just because
he's good.
Of the platform he's going to have and what he can do offensively.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But he comes along, and then you get Wommack, who was here and then goes up there, but they coached together at Indiana, and I'm familiar with that Indiana team. I remember them. They've never been good, or at least in my lifetime. And then all of a sudden, they were like a 8-4, but a good team. I mean, they were a tough team.
When they were playing Michigan and Ohio State, you looked at that game and you said, there's a pretty good chance this team's going to cover.
Yeah. You know? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's, you know what? That's part of the reason why I paid attention to him. But Penix was good, and their defense was solid, and they scored. And then he leaves, and they're not good anymore.
Yeah. And I don't think people understand. I mean, again, these aren't hires we're used to, because we're used to getting guys like Salson Series or Coach Pruitt's or Kevin Steele, guys that have been around a long time in this area that we're all familiar with. Mm-hmm. The pedigree or the resume that these guys have is pretty similar to those guys, just in a completely different region. Yeah. And we don't look you and I have talked shit about football in the North on here, in the North, multiple times. Mm-hmm.
And now we have their damn weather. What's going on, man? Take this back.
And so, we're a little hesitant to trust guys that don't see football in the same light or scope that we do. But I know Kane. I've been around him a lot. I love the guy. I think he's a home run hire for Alabama. Cannot wait to see what he does there. If he was sitting on this couch right now, you'd love him. You'd love being around him. You'd feel he's got an infectious personality. He's going to do great. Now, it's going to be different than having Coach Saban in there, who's 70 and has won 7 national championships, or however many it is now. Can't even keep count. Just because it's a new face and he's not quite as proven, but he's done a hell of a job at South Alabama. Did a hell of a job at Indiana.
Yeah,
he knows football.
Yeah, he does. Well, that's why they got those jobs. I mean, and I kind of weighed, like, is it better to be an assistant, like the coordinator at Alabama or the head coach at South? And I'm like, for the best head coach in that conference got the job at Tulane, Yeah. And it's like, okay, man, I mean, that's a decent job. It's not a Power 5 job, but you go to Alabama and you do it.
Tulane's brought in like 4 or 5 stars in the last 2 days.
He's good. I know he's good. But I mean, it's
and if you're bringing in those guys and at Tulane and you're from wherever he is, I don't know where's he from?
He's from Troy. He's Troy's head coach.
Okay. Well, I thought you said he was from up north.
No. He was Troy's coach, and then he took that job. So he just got it. Now he's out recruiting. Well, really transfer portaling,
Yeah. Well, he's killing it in the transfer portal. I know that.
They went back in the SEC. They were an original member.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. I don't know if they do, but I'm sure they would take it, right? Them and Georgia Tech jumping out, what a bad mistake. Should have stuck in.
Well, I mean, the thing about joining the SEC is either you either swim with them and figure it out, or you turn into Vanderbilt and nobody's interested, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I like this guy. I think DeBoer seems like a good dude. The question's going to be recruiting, and we'll see. He had some guys leap out into the transfer portal. Isaiah Bond went to Texas because of a business decision, he called it. Ben, he wouldn't take the call from DeBoer, when he called him.
Yeah, I mean, we shared our thoughts prior to the
show, but I'm not putting you on the spot, but what
Booker,
do you think?
Look, Booker has the right mentality, and I don't know if you saw that, but
yeah, I loved it. His picture when he was like a little kid with Saban.
Yeah. I mean, the guy loves Alabama. That's the kind of guy that we all as Alabama people need to support and appreciate. That kind of loyalty and that kind of message and leadership. That goes a long way. That Isaiah Bond deal,
disappointing.
Here's the thing about that is he's probably 20 years old.
Yeah.
When he looks back on this decision, and I don't know, he
Could
may
be some regret there.
He may be in the NFL. He may not be. Who knows what happens? I guess he's trying to make his money while he can, but at some point he'll look back and probably think that he handled this incorrectly.
Yeah, right. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I guess only time will tell. But the good thing is, what I was surprised about, of course, Saraland's Ryan Williams decommitted before Saban even signed the thing that said he retired, right? And then what's the guy's name? Jamie French, another 5-star receiver, also decommitted. What I'm curious about these guys is all three of them. It's like, have you paid attention to Washington's offense? I mean, they had 3,000-yard receivers.
Yeah.
Like, they're putting a bunch of guys in the NFL in that particular position.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's going to be far more – receivers are going to be far more utilized now than they ever were at Alabama.
Right. You're going to catch the ball, and it's going to put pressure on the quarterbacks to get them the ball. You're going to have to get them the ball. I mean, I don't know how to read into the statement that Bond made on his way out. Maybe he didn't think that Milroe got him the ball enough. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's in his head, but I think that we're going to throw the ball a lot. And
you definitely are, and nothing's off the table anymore. This is going to be, I think, if Coach Saban stays, and look, I love Jalen Milroe. We've talked about him so many times on this podcast, but nobody's job is going to be theirs this year.
You have to go get it again.
And
it should be like that really anyway, right? You always want to win your job back.
No, I agree. I agree.
Not saying that you don't have it. I mean, he's definitely the guy with all the experience, and most likely it'll be him.
To a certain extent, I mean, like Bryce Young, that if you're a solidified starter, it should be, that should be illustrated by everybody on the staff that you're the starter and you're a leader and you need to follow this guy.
Yeah.
But you got a new coach coming in, and this is going to be a completely new offense, something we've never seen in Alabama before. And you never know who's going to fit in where and what kind of change this is going to bring.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely uneasy with change because we really haven't had much of it, and the thing that it's
hard to change when you've won this many national championships
and you're in the picture every year. I haven't been happy watching, Georgia. I wish Tavarius Robinson would have waited and talked to the new coach before he took a job at Georgia because they wanted him to be the defensive coordinator, but at least he'll be the co-defensive coordinator now.
I don't know T-Rob at all. I mean, I think we've met one or two times, and again, as that's not enough to know somebody. But I think not finding out retirement was coming and all the destabilization that came with that, I think a lot of those guys were nervous about what the next step was and were afraid to.
I agree.
Put all their eggs in one basket, stick around and see what happens when they've got guys that they know that they can lean on for stability. and it just happens sometimes.
He had the offer, from what I understand, when Saban was still there, and and they were working through that. Kevin Steele retired, and now all of a sudden you have a defensive coordinator job open, and then you have the coaching. I mean, I'm sure if you're DeBoer, you're it's on your list, but you're just trying to get through the press conference. You're trying to figure it out. Now you gotta recruit your group. You got to go out and make sure that your signing class is sticking. And then, he's going to get some guys. Transfer portal goes both ways, but I guess for my own comfort, I wish that we had some guys from last year's staff, and we do. Freddie Roach is sticking around. Robert Gillispie, even though he has a fantastic name, not related to me, but he's sticking, and I love that too. Yeah, we're still related, somehow, right? In name only, right? But just for his name, he's my favorite coach. Come on. But as this thing's put together, I think there might be another job or two that they're trying to figure out. But the recruiting part of it is something that's really important. And I think they're going to do all right with it. I think that the transfer portal becomes a lot bigger now. DeBoer obviously has done well in the NIL game and the transfer game. So it's just going to be different. I mean, it's a different animal, but character matters. And this guy's got great character. And I think that it's going to reflect that.
For long-term stability, character means everything.
Right.
I mean, that was character exemplified Coach Saban, in my opinion.
Yeah, mine too.
From what I saw, and people are attracted to that. I don't care where you're from, how you sound when you talk. I mean, one of the things he taught me, I just watching him, nothing he told me, but Coach Saban's extremely charismatic, well-spoken, and I always, kind of thought, you gotta relate to people and find a way to get on certain people's level sometimes. And he was always himself, always spoke so well, always just handled himself so well. People respected that no matter what he was saying or how he said it. That goes the longest way with people, in my opinion. If you're going to be a good guy, be honest and do what you say you're going to do, then I don't care if you're from Washington. I don't care if you're from Michigan. People are going to respect that, and recruits are going to be drawn to that.
Yeah, right. Well, that's how you're going to win people. Your character is going to be what basically builds the program after this. I mean, we're under siege right now. Got to go out and protect. Hey, Caleb Downs, please stay.
Everybody wants a piece of the king.
Please stay. It's exactly it. We want you to stay. I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, could former players say stuff? And guys have said stuff, on Twitter and all that. You're a former player. What do you say to that? Is there a way that you guys could help? Because it feels like we're in a dogfight right now, just to get things kind of like it's like that plane ride back from Arkansas. I told you guys we're dropping 1,000 feet and they're trying to steady it,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's. I think there's been a few. I know Marquise Mays said a few things. I know Devontae's said a couple things.
Loved what Devontae.
He was pretty good. Yeah, that was probably the best.
He said, "What if they're anyone that's transferring is an idiot?"
We don't want them anyway, or something like that.
But I love the fact that both Devontae Smiths have spoken, and they've both been great. I'm gonna become a Devontae Smith's super fan too.
No, it's pretty black and white. I mean, but
here's what we think.
Yeah. When you're a Heisman Trophy winner at receiver at Alabama, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah, right. Man, he may be the only one ever to do that.
I don't know.
It's hard to win the Heisman. Yeah, maybe somebody else steps in.
I mean, if Julio had played when DeBoer was the head coach in this era of football.
Yeah, really. He's still, to me, the best. I mean, a lot of great ones.
Yeah. I mean, Amari Cooper, he came close, and he was easily good enough to be a Heisman Trophy winner. It just didn't work out that year.
Right. Yeah. Well, I hate seeing guys leave. We're going to see some guys come, and hopefully we'll get a center in this. I saw Washington's got a great center that's in the portal. If you're watching, man, we got a spot for you. You ever seen Josh Pate? You know, the Josh Pate.
Yeah.
He did a breakdown of some of those snaps, and I'm like, oh man, it's watching them like it's in slow motion even makes it worse. You know, it makes it amazing that we did as well as we did.
I guess it was the yips.
It has to be, man.
It was just a struggle when you're watching the game, hoping that the snap, gets back. Just feel the snap and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I when Saban got to Alabama, I used to have like my lucky Alabama gear.
Yeah.
And a lot of us did. We had our lucky Alabama gear, we wear for the big games. Like this shirt, we can't lose. And we lost. And then Saban showed up and we threw all that shit. He got
to make a move.
Yeah. Then this year, I'm like, hey, where's my lucky shirt at? I got to get the snaps down. What's going on here?
I can't imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine being back there. And again,
would you have lost your shit at some point? After the one goes back like 25 yards, then you scoop it up and a giant guy belly flops you.
I can't imagine because here's the thing. I've heard Seth McLaughlin is a great guy.
I know he is,
and it's it's tough to see that. But I can't imagine getting back there. And again, I had Ryan Kelly as a center, and
you had one of the greats.
Oh yeah, I mean one of the best centers of all time in Alabama.
Yeah, I know.
But I can't imagine getting back there and having to get.
We need him on the show. Can we get him on the show?
Oh yeah, we need to.
Be great.
But I can't imagine getting back there and just like prepping just to catch the snap.
Oh yeah, it's like
you got all these things going through your head.
Yeah,
and everything needs to be timed up right, and it all starts with a snap, and you're sitting there like, all right, I got to catch this thing and make sure it doesn't go over my head or run through my legs.
The worst ones are like where he's like checking the offense, like making sure everybody's right, and then all of a sudden out of the corner of his eye, there goes the damn football. I guess we snapped it.
Well, I mean, it when you're playing, it's second nature. Like when the snaps are good, and you just you lift your leg and you can keep your eyes up, and the ball comes and you kind of look down for not even 2 seconds, a millisecond just to catch it, fake it, whatever. And your eyes are here the whole time. But when you're like that, it's like
you're not thinking about where you're going with the ball.
I got to catch it. All right, here's the fake. All right, now where's the defense at?
Yeah, right.
Instead of just, okay, snaps coming here. Here's all right, they're moving here. They're doing that. All right, here's where I'm going with it.
I wonder if DeBoer's just been like, what the freak have I got myself into here?
I mean, there was like 3 times when we had snap issues, and they were all my fault. Like,
but you taking responsibility.
I mean, one bounced off my face.
That is your fault.
The one hit me on like right here on the one. There was one time where it was a mistimed snap, and Ryan snapped it too early, and even then it bounced off my chest.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we had a seam route and a comeback, and I mean, it was all set up to hit Kenyon Drake on the seam, but I had Calvin really running a comeback. So when the ball hit me in the chest, and I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And I caught it, and I was like, well, I just know I got the comeback right here, and I'm gonna throw this.
Yeah.
And it was luckily we had the right play in place. And it kind of timed up okay.
Well, you knew everyone was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, you just.
How hard is it to know all those plays? How long does it take you to figure out, like, the playbook? Like, where you're like, they'll call a play that you guys haven't run all year, and it's like game 8. Does that happen?
I would say.
You're practicing them during the week.
Yeah, I mean, I think until you've got 1 year down as or at least a regular season down as a starter. And I'm talking like fluid, knowing it,
right.
You know what to do. Everybody's on the same page. You've got that timing down with everybody. I think it takes like a full season to really get there. and play under the lights, full speed, where everybody's got confidence on the field when the coaches are on the sideline and you're on your own. To get to that point, I mean, knowing the offense and really playing like the offense are two separate things.
Right.
You can know all the calls, you can know what everybody's doing, but if you're not on the same page with everybody around you, it can still be a disaster.
Yeah.
And so, like, again, when go back to the Jalen Milroe comment or any new system, I mean, there's going to be growing pains, and I don't care how many times you rep it in practice, repping it in a game is so much different.
Yeah. Did you like when DeBoer made it a point to say he wanted you guys, the alumni, the former players, to feel like nothing's changed, like you're still welcome at the building, like come around?
Yeah. I haven't. I mean, I didn't hear that comment, but I have been. I think Alabama is such a homey atmosphere, and I mean, I've never seen it out without Coach Saban there, so I don't know what it was like with previous coaches and staffs. But I mean, when I'm in Tuscaloosa, I'm swinging by the complex and I'm seeing people.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, and it's a great time, and I love seeing all the guys. And I mean, I wouldn't expect that to change. What I was nervous about was that everybody would be gutted and there wouldn't be anybody around. I wanted some familiar faces around it. And I mean, I know Kane pretty well. So, but I also, Denzel DeBall staying, Ellis Ponder staying, Freddie staying, Cedric staying. I mean, so there's going to be a lot of familiar faces still around. Like I said, the thing I will miss most is just that Coach Saban type atmosphere and that presence.
Yeah. And you can't replace
and it's
that.
like when we did this podcast before the Ole Miss game, when I went into that practice, and they got chair drill and all these things right after practice to get to film, and he makes it a point to come over and shake my hand and say hello and talk a little bit. I mean, it means a lot that a guy with this much going on, this much success, still when he sees his players, it's like, he's big smile. It's just hard to beat that.
Yeah. Well, it's the unfortunate thing about life is that it does march on.
Oh yeah,
as Tracy Lawrence,
but it never
sung.
But it never. You never realize that.
Yeah.
Or at least I'm 31. I hadn't realized
you're starting to feel it now for the first time. So we got the new coach, we got the staff. Have you been surprised at all at, Georgia kind of coming after some of our guys, Texas going after our guys? I mean,
and Auburn, I guarantee you they're scraping up as much money as they can to put the nail in the coffin for Ryan Williams.
Hey, Auburn had their own issues. That's why they've kind of been quiet.
Yeah. I mean, that's there it is right there. Hugh Freeze called continuity invaluable, but Auburn has only faced change, which is true.
Yeah, and they fired two guys left last week. Carnell Williams, one of them.
Carnell Williams shocks me.
That's a big deal.
I mean, that there had to have been some friction there for that to happen.
Yeah, whatever.
Because Carnell was a staple of Auburn.
Was him and Ellis Johnson? Is that who
Ellis Johnson leave too?
It was two coaches that left. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. I'll look it up, but while we're sitting here. But yeah, I mean, so they haven't been able to really capitalize on things like Georgia.
Well, I mean, it's the classic get them while they're down, and that's what. I mean, we sit here and talk about it like we're down. Hell, we're in the playoff. We got a great new coach from Washington. He's bringing a great staff. Kane, I mean, again, we're sitting here acting like it's some shit show when the times we're in, people are going to transfer, and then we're going to keep the guys that really want to be there and really want to buy in, and that's a great thing. We're going to get we signed a great recruiting class, I believe. Can you even get out of that now? I mean, is everybody?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, well, that shit's on my point, but we're going to be fine. Problem is we're spoiled and us as fans. And
that wasn't Ellis Johnson. Zach Etheridge. I don't know why I thought Ellis Johnson. Maybe because he was there forever.
Is he still there?
I don't know. I just popped into my mind. That's why I love Twitter, like the internets. You know, you can just jump on here.
Yeah. But I mean, we're fine. You know, there's going to be a little period of time where we've got to adjust and figure it out. But as soon as he's comfortable with the scenario that he's in, I think we're going to be in great shape.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I hope so. I feel like that too. I mean,
every time I talk Alabama football since last Wednesday, it seems like everybody's just down and out, you know?
Well,
and
I mean, you know,
we
did lose a pretty good coach. I mean, it's not like there's a whole wall of the guy over here.
But it's all like gloom and doom. I mean, this is college football now, you know? I mean, it is what it is.
That side's Bear Bryant. This side is Nick Saban.
Yeah, we're going to be fine. And we got the OC we tried to hire last year. And
are you coaching us up right now?
I'm being honest. I mean, I feel great about it.
Well, you coach us up when I need it. Just give it to me.
And Grubb, again, first target last year. Kane did a hell of a job at South. Was a head coach, and he's a beast. We're going to be fine.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you said that because I feel better now. Now, honestly,
I'm just telling you, he's a great mind, man. He's a great mind. I've already said all this already. You know, we're good.
Has anything surprised you just about all of in general, everything that's going on? Because it feels like there's always something going on.
I'm surprised at the amount of guys that are leaving. That's what I'm most surprised about. You know, and when I was playing, you didn't have this. I mean, first of all, you didn't have the freedom to do it. But second of all, times have changed so much in the last 8 years. It's insane to me. It's
Chris Lowe's reporting that another sitting FBS head coach is joining DeBoer, and that is Buffalo head coach Maurice Linguist as
is that the guy
defensive
from Dallas has been
assistant. He was at Buffalo.
Was he at A&M at one time?
Sure.
But born in Dallas or Texas.
I don't know.
He graduated from Baylor.
A former player at Baylor, SEC expertise at Texas A&M and Mississippi State, worked briefly at Michigan before landing the Buffalo job. So, yeah, I mean, look, the people that know this guy like him. And I like him. I don't even know him, but I really get a genuine vibe from him. So I'm excited about seeing what we do on the football field. I thought he handled all the questions the right way. I thought he hit a home run in the press conference. And we'll see what happens with the team. I saw who was it? Maybe it was Devontae Smith that was talking about the cornerback, the DB, that said that the guy that he took 2 hours and talked to him the other day, and they were just new head coach. Like they felt like
he seems like a genuine guy. You watch his press conferences and all that. I mean, he seems like the kind of guy you'd pretty much anybody would relate to and get along with. Again, only time's going to tell. I mean, I say we're all good. I guess you could suck in 2 years.
Yeah, right.
We'll see.
He loses that Iron Bowl.
Yeah, that's right. But I tell you what, this is the worst time possible for a new Alabama coach to come in terms of beating Auburn, because Hugh Freeze is a hell of a coach too.
Yeah.
I've always when Auburn was going through that hiring process, the guy I was most nervous about them getting was Hugh Freeze.
Was it?
Oh yeah, I mean the guy wins everywhere he goes.
Yeah, he
understands it. He recruits. He's good at it. I told you this before. He was the first one to ever offer me a scholarship at Arkansas State, and I loved him. Everybody around him that I know really enjoys working for him, loves being around him. I mean, they're having their hiccups right now, I guess, with some changes, but I mean, at the end of the day, if the head coach is telling you something and you're having some friction with him, he's your boss.
Yeah, you're out. What's Arkansas State like? Pretty good place?
I talked to him on the phone. But he was great, and he called me when we talked when I was leaving Florida State too.
Where was he then?
Ole Miss.
Well, we'll see what happens, huh?
I was waiting on you to send me a question.
Yeah. What when you guys when you get recruited by someone like him, and then you're walking off the field after they win the game, do they come up? I always see the coaches talking to the guys and stuff. What do they say? What are you guys talking about on the way out?
When I was trying to think, when I was playing, I talked to two after the game. One, Damian Craig, when we played Auburn in the Iron Bowl, we talked a little bit.
What did he say?
We talked about his family, how they were doing.
Oh, you knew him from yeah.
He recruited me to Florida State, and he told me to go win a national championship and all that stuff.
Oh, that's cool, man.
And he was all excited about it, and I love Coach Craig. He's always been really good to me.
Tell you the thing that I love about football, and I think I've talked about the guy I named my son after, who the football player, loved the game. Once the game's over, he just loves the good players on the other team. He just appreciates why they're good, and watching them. He just, my friend Jake loved watching football, loved great players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Almost kind of like when I see Pat McAfee, kind of that same thing. Dude, this guy could ball, man. Try tackling him,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard not to respect somebody who works their ass off like that.
Yeah, or just has great moves, can do stuff,
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's every time I ever played a football game and there's been a lot of shit talk involved, there's always been a mutual respect after the game.
Yeah, right. You survived the shit talk.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to, not too many instances that I remember where I held a grudge after a game, if at all.
So you're saying that you were never, after a game you lost, and then you ran and attacked the guy from behind when they were singing the alma mater? You never did anything like that? Because I saw someone do that this year.
I imagine Kane will be prepared for that.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, just know, watch your back. Can you imagine that meeting afterwards?
Yeah, that's what I was in a group text talking
that
about
bowl
that.
game in Mobile.
Oh yeah, I was like, what do you tell your players? You can't get mad at them. Some guy comes and punches your teammate in the back of the head.
Yeah.
What's your response outside of, hey, we got to beat the shit out of this guy?
Yeah, get him.
I mean, he started it.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, right. That never worked in high school. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I want to hear the rest of it.
You got suspended anyway.
Oh, yeah. Well, you might as well get your licks in.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Once that adrenaline's gone, everybody's looking at you like you're an animal. You know what I mean? It's oh, man. Even when you win, you lose.
Yeah, it'd be like a bar fight. You
right.
get done. Even if you win, it's like, well, that was pointless.
Yeah, right. Yeah, what did we just do here? Oh, man. Yeah, so you got to take a deep breath and just kind of realize that we got to get through the next couple. We just got to survive the next couple weeks.
Well, what's screwed up is that when your coach leaves, all of a sudden the portal's open.
Yeah, right.
And you just get destroyed. Your roster gets completely depleted, and you don't even have an opportunity to go grab somebody else. Of course, like we were talking about, I guess he could go grab some Washington players.
Well, Washington, Arizona, San Jose State. Jim Harbaugh is probably going to be leaving soon.
Yeah.
So you'll have Michigan, whoever they replace there, which I'm guessing that
he had to have recruited some of those guys.
Yeah, I'm guessing that. Oh, yeah, right. I'm thinking that they'll probably hire the assistant that filled in for him. But I don't know, though. You know, like I look at what Washington did. I thought for sure they were going to hire Ryan Grubb, and then they hired with Jed Fish, and that's a good hire, man. That guy had tons of success at Arizona. Arizona was one of those teams at the end of the season no one would want to play. It would have been interesting had there been a playoff and they gotten in. I mean, they were good, man. Did you watch them towards the end of the season?
That Mississippi State loss.
Well, at the beginning of the year, they stunk, but they just got better and better as the season went on, and they were fun to watch. And who'd they beat? Oklahoma in the bowl game, and they just like went up and down the field on them.
I'm not sure. Bowl games.
You're just missing
ever since the opt outs. I don't even pay attention anymore.
I think they were one of my 33. I don't think they were one of my 10.
I don't even know who did they play Oklahoma?
I think they did. Yeah, let's look that up. Pretty sure. So when it gets really cold like this, you know, someone that loves hunting, I mean, is this like I got to get out in the woods?
Oh yeah, I wish I was hunting instead of being in Mobile for sure. We took the Christmas tree up to the camp this weekend, and I lit that thing on fire, and I hadn't seen a Christmas tree go up in flames since I was a kid. And forgot how,
I do one in the fire pit out here.
Yeah, that'll make you nervous about having an old dry tree with lights on it.
Man, that's funny you said that. It was by the way, Oklahoma. I put the Christmas tree in the fire pit last year, and it was kind of dry. It was like dry cold.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was like the the needles are on fire and they're floating up in the air. You know, oh, you're gonna burn the neighbor's house down. There's a group of people here around here that have like a Christmas tree burning every year. Like they all get together and bring their Christmas trees.
That would be pretty awesome.
That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, I took my daughter out. It was I guess it was Saturday night, and just something to do. I brought the Christmas tree up there, and
hey guys, are you ready for this?
Yeah. At like 8:30, I was my father-in-law does a lot of the fires, and so my daughter's always like, she calls him Poppy. She's like, Poppy makes the big fires, and I'm like,
watch out.
I was like shaking my head,
Yeah.
She was like, Daddy makes little fires and Mommy makes little fires. I was like, oh, just wait till tonight.
Yeah, right.
I lit that thing up and it just, fires up 12-foot flames. She goes, Daddy makes the biggest fires. Yeah. I was like, hell yeah.
Christmas trees were a little pricey this year. Did you notice that?
I think I paid $150 for my tree.
Yeah, that's a lot. I remember paying like $40 like 3 years ago.
I just go to the easiest spot for me, and whatever it is, I mean, it's.
If I had a hunting camp, I'd spend $0 on it.
Would you go? You could just go get a pine tree.
I would just go cut one down. Yeah, my dad did that one year. Like the good thing nothing
Christmas
lived
vacation.
in it. Yeah, like good thing nothing lived in it. Yeah, back in the day. Yeah. So, man, it's just been like kind of like a whirlwind. And then I'm excited about like some pretty big hitters. The only question that people have is, how's he going to recruit? And then, what's the team going to look like? Who's sticking around? Who's leaving? Every time someone gets in the transfer portal, it like hits hard, man. You like these guys?
Well, you hate seeing it like the Gravedigger.
Yeah, right.
I doubt that thing sells nearly as much as it would if Isaiah Bond was sticking around and he was going to be a staple of Alabama football moving forward, because that's what he would be if he stuck around.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants to pull for like Jalen. I mean, he's roll tide, I'm not leaving, and you pull for that guy.
Yeah.
Isaiah Bond, Booker, those guys that are going to hold the team together and push for a playoff berth next year, moving forward. How can you not pull for a guy like that? That's going to push through this and lead those younger guys, ahead. So it just sucks. It would be like, I mean, I'm not going to say Julio, but it'd be like our Darius Stewart leaving a huge name at Alabama that everybody loved and appreciated, and he's leaving. You feel like, I mean, it's like a divorce. You feel like, it's just like, I guess, girlfriend cheating on you or something.
Yeah, right.
Very strange.
Well, we haven't had the transfer portal really attack us a whole lot, and I thought we got through when Saban was here, like we got through. It was like some guys left, but it wasn't anybody that you really felt like, was that big a deal. And then all of a sudden, I mean, good players, but like you said, like nobody that had really done a lot here yet. In Alabama.
There were transfers for the most part that made sense.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's been a few where you were like, what? But you never saw a guy that made a dynamic play in the Iron Bowl.
Well, he's got his own Daniel Moore print. I mean, what are you doing, man? At least you're like a celebrity down here.
Yeah, well, it's just kind of like, does it not mean anything to you?
Yeah, right.
To have the full support of the entire fan base. I don't know. Have you ever heard anybody talk poorly of Isaiah Bond before?
No. And the question,
completely embraced by the staff and by the fan base.
And I'll tell you this.
To me, these transfers where guys leave when you've been playing, you are going to play, you have what you want.
Right.
And you have everything that was promised to you during recruiting.
Right. If it's all about money is what you're saying.
I mean, when it's all about money, you can't trust that guy.
Yeah, right. It's a lot different if you don't like the situation, if you don't feel like you're comfortable with the coach you're playing for, if you're not getting on the field, it's different. And if you're like the starter for every game, and the guy they throw the ball to the most.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, again, it's in every facet of life. In my opinion, if it's all about money, no matter what you do, then you can't even listen to that guy. Right. He's going to do what he's going to do, and you wish him the best, and you can't get emotions involved.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want guys that show up, work hard. There's a relationship where, hey, I'm promising you this, given that you do these things. He does all these things, and he's given that. You've done all you can do.
Yeah.
And you've got the love and appreciation of everybody around you, and you still leave. Again, Isaiah Bond didn't have a bad year last year.
No. Well, he got more balls thrown to him, and I mean, he would have been probably the featured receiver in this offense, I would think.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's my point on that. And it's just, I don't know. When I left Florida State, I mean, it was, Jameson just won the Heisman Trophy. He was a year younger than me. But when I was planning on, there was a time the year prior to that where I was thinking about leaving. And, I remember I went and I was meeting with Jimbo, and I was in tears leaving my house because just the realization I had. I mean, I was rooming with 3 of my teammates, and one of which is Austin Barron, one of my best friends. And I'll never forget walking out that door. I was about to walk out the door, and I told him where I was going, and he knew what was going on. He's one of my best friends.
Right.
And I remember just as I was about to shut the door, I started crying because
it's tough.
It was heartbreaking to think that, I was possibly making a decision to leave one of my best friends.
Yeah. Right.
And a lot of my best friends on that team. Or he got up and came over and hugged me. And I was like, just like so beat up about it because I had these guys and people that I loved at Florida State, and it was so hard to leave them, and then had some other conversations with other teammates. I remember Brian Stork came over to my house and we talked for a long time, and I stayed, and really the reason I stayed is because I loved those guys so much.
Right.
And it was so hard to think about leaving.
Where would you have gone that year? Still Bama?
Probably Alabama.
But you didn't have like a destination. You were just knowing. You just knew like this one the best fit for me.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, which is why you transfer. I mean, that should be
and
the
we've
reason
had
why.
some conversation. We talked about
Yeah.
some of that prior to this podcast, but there were some things where and one of the best things I did was stay there, manage those things that I struggled with at Florida State. And
yeah, right.
I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't doing drugs or had an alcohol problem or anything like that. I was just, on the field, I was, wasn't enjoying it as much as
it wasn't fun
as I used to.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was my fault because I wasn't embracing and buying into everything that Jimbo was trying to get me to buy into.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finally did that and just let it all go and played my ass off and worked, and I was always on time, always doing what I was supposed to do. But there's a difference between showing up on time and doing what you're supposed to do and then fully buying in and doing extra and being all about what your job is.
Right.
And I mean, it was, I'd always loved my teammates, always loved being around those guys, but man, I truly loved Florida State when I started buying in, and it's way more fun when you do that.
Yeah, right.
And so I appreciated it so much more. And man, let me tell you, leaving there was very tough. It was very hard for me. And again, I've got so many of those guys that are still my best friends of this day that I'll never forget and always enjoy being around and respect and love. And it was so hard to leave those guys. But, had I been the starter, and I can't imagine leaving when you've got not only your teammates, but everything that you've been promised and given from your coaches, they fulfilled in your playing. I don't get it.
Yeah. Business decision. And I know this, Nick Saban was a little bit hesitant to buy totally into the raising money part of things. And I just know this this isn't secondhand knowledge. I know this from people that are involved in this. And I think part of it is that we just didn't really know what the whole NIL thing was,
Yeah.
I mean, and it just hasn't been fully defined. I mean, we still don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and so you have to have that part of it. And I don't know that there wasn't the money there. But when I hear Aaron Suttles and see him on the next round and different stuff, and he's like, hey, you guys, we need people to invest, or, let's invest. And we got to, man. I mean, it's just part of it. Like, as Alabama fans, I haven't talked to Aaron. I just saw his stuff, but I know he's right because I know the world that we're in.
Oh, I know.
We're in an uphill battle.
Kids and parents that are so emotionally involved, and they're inexperienced in the college football world. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was one of them. We're all dumb in terms of our expectations and what we think we deserve. There are some guys that Bryce Young, the Max Joneses, when those guys were in college, I agree, man. Those guys were dedicated. They did what they were supposed to do, and far beyond that, they affected their teammates. Pay those guys, but the expectations we have is players when we go in at 18 to 22, and then the parents. I include the parents in there, and a lot of that is just inexperience and not knowing how to manage a situation. I think you have to find a coach like Coach Saban, I think, who will give you honesty and do what's best for the team first, the organization first, and also look out for the players so that they benefit from the success of that organization as well.
Right.
And to me, that's why you have to have a high character guy in that position to have continuity at Alabama. That's why I think DeBoer is going to be a great fit for Alabama. He's going to have a lot of power at that position, and he's a guy that I think will manage it in the correct way that benefits everybody involved. Mm. And you have to look at it that way. Otherwise, you're going to get caught up, and you're not going to be able to live up to the promises that you make.
Hey, guys, don't forget that this is Elephant in the Room on Roll Tide Pod's YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, comment. We love the comments, man. You guys have been great. Love hearing from you. And make sure that you remember that we're brought to you by mybookie.ag. Up to $1,000 price match. So they'll give you 50% of that with the promo code next round. And don't forget that there's so many sports going on right now. Exciting time in college basketball. The NFL playoffs, you got the NBA, NASCAR, all of that stuff. Mybookie.ag. This is part of life. We knew this was going to happen, and eventually one day, and it happened. And now we're on to the next coach, and we got a guy that is beloved where he came from. This is the best coaching search that I've ever seen at Alabama. Normally, we found
pretty quick too.
Oh,
I know we were all freaking out there for a minute.
Oh, dude, I've seen them turn into absolute debacles over the years. Like I've been around long enough to see us just trip over our dick. Sorry if that's a term that you've ever heard constantly. I mean, just terrible. Like is that okay to say?
I mean, you got to be pretty gifted to trip over it.
Yeah. If I only had that problem. But look, I think that they did a great job making these moves. And Greg Byrne, man, what a good athletic director, man. Great athletic director.
Yeah,
like you would think that these guys would all be good, but they're not all good. Like a lot of times you sit there scratching your head,
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you
look at some of the Tennessee coaching searches, over the years, like, then there are other places too, what I found is that in the SEC, you have to get these right. Yeah. And if you don't, then you make a move fast. I mean, look at Dave Arnett at Mississippi State. They get 1 year and they're like, hey, this guy's got to go, and I think that when John Cohen was there, who's now at Auburn, before when they got Mike Leach, it was like, hey, they got Lane Kiffin up north. We got to go make a move here. They're not going to wait around. You either get it done fast or you make a move. But in the past, I mean, you just keep riding these coaches out that wouldn't win, and then all of a sudden you're buried, and it was the same thing at Alabama, and partly because we had so many issues with the NCAA, and then there's very high expectations in Tuscaloosa, like expect to win. I mean, somebody asked the coach at the press conference, which honestly I wasn't a fan of this question. I talked to some students and they said they're going to give them 3 games. Like 3 games. I mean, what do you? And the guy answered it. DeBoer answered that question perfectly. I wish you would have asked Nick Saban that question. So I'm going to miss that.
He'd have been nervous about asking that question.
And we wouldn't ask that to Nick Saban. No. I mean, because that's a ridiculous question.
Oh yeah.
What, are you going to run me out after 3 games? Well, if you're here about winning, then obviously you don't understand what we're doing here. It's about the process. I'm not promising you any wins.
That guy.
I love that.
Oh yeah. He'd have been on that guy. Coach Saban would have ran him out of there so fast.
I don't do hypotheticals. You ever say that before? Yeah. You want to transfer out? You do that. But the grass is always greener on the septic tank. He threw him off like a fly on a gnat's ass. God, I'm gonna miss those press conferences. The best Saban ever was when he was talking about high achievers don't get along with middle of the road people, because that is the best advice or whatever.
Average people or whatever it was.
Whatever he said, like, he's so right.
Oh yeah. Got a lot of years doing it, a lot of years being good at it.
Yeah, right.
But he would be good at whatever he did.
I know, that's what I feel like.
It wouldn't matter.
Except riding a boat. If you're going to ride a boat with slacks, I don't want to be on your boat. That's what Mike told me. Mike Johnson swore he was going to stay because he's like, what's he going to do?
Son of a smooth operator, baby.
Yeah, he drove me around on his boat in slacks. He's gonna be down there in Florida with us. I want to see him like with like a flamingo like a Hawaiian shirt and like some jam shorts. Let's go, man. I honestly wish him the best, and I hope that he takes a step back once we get everything figured out, and he really does enjoy his family. He's got one of the best wives of anybody ever.
Oh, yeah.
He nailed it with that. His life's been amazing.
Power couple for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, she's the perfect complement to him. He's got a great family. And I'll tell you, man, for him to do this the way that he's done it for all of these years to 72, he's getting out at a good time because he needs to go he's got a lot of money and he can do anything he wants, so he might as well go and travel the world and see the grandkids and work at the car dealerships and have fun, man. I mean, I hope he does that. I hope he's not like a year out going, man, I got to get back into coaching.
He's going to be in Italy.
I miss being on the team.
He's going to be in Italy thinking about, damn it, I can't believe we lost to Michigan. I want to play him right now.
I still think 5 years ago they win that game. I think that partly it's probably like he said to Reese Davis. He's like, I spent so much time on defense that I didn't have enough time to get to the offense. And I really believe that everything he touched in football turned to gold.
Yeah.
And when I don't know how far you read into it. I've talked about this on some of my other shows. I'll tell you my thoughts. When I heard at the Rose Bowl press conference when Kevin Steele, basically stopped somebody and said, "Whose defense is it?" And he was like, "Well, it's the guy that won the 6 national championships, or 7." It's his defense. Basically he's the coordinator. We're all just working under him, and they love it. And that's what I love about him. Like you had the best ever over there. He's going to come in and he's going to make sure that things get right. But he told Reese Davis when he retired, he spent so much time on the defensive side of the ball. He didn't get enough on the offensive. And maybe he felt like he just couldn't do it anymore because it's not just coaching the players, it's coaching the coaches. And we were going to have the same issue this year. Yeah. I mean, Georgia has a whole program based off of Alabama. Like we just, look at him. Schumann's a guy that was an Alabama guy. Kirby's an Alabama guy. T-Rob's an Alabama guy. Go through there and see what they created on their own and what they got.
Georgia's been trying to be Alabama for 10 years.
I know.
Every coach that leaves Coach Saban, I guarantee you everything's structured the same way. Why wouldn't they be?
Mm-hmm. But I mean, look, Kirby was. I wanted Alabama. If I'm Greg Byrne, while I was working on the deal to get the other coach, I would have been telling Jimmy Sexton, we'll give him as much money as he wants just to bankrupt Georgia. And looking at the way that they're doing us now, we missed an opportunity to do that. We should have just gone in and been like,
but here it is about Kirby, though. It ain't all about the money.
Yeah, well, I know, but they still would have had to pay him. I mean, he's still going to go back and go, well, Alabama just offered me $17 million.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you don't get them, you still win.
Yeah.
But we didn't do it that way. I don't remember us ever, like, being – and I think it's part of just Nick Saban's personality. Like, I don't remember him doing anything like that. He's not taking the – if he took another job somewhere else, he's not taking the recruiting board with him to use it to recruit. He's going to work until the last day, just like he did. He really worked until the last day.
Yeah, worked past the last day.
Yeah, I mean, he's still working, He cleaned his office out, which is crazy to think about. Does Coach DeBoer need that?
That's a sad thought right there.
Does he need that button that shuts the door automatically? Did you ever did he do that in front of you?
I don't remember if he did or not. Honestly,
would be bad as if he saw you coming and he shut it.
When I had meetings with him, I was laser focused on eye contact, making sure I'm saying the right stuff.
Yeah. I'd love to hear about those one day. He's not coaching anymore. So. I wonder, everybody, man, we were so blessed to have him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
So blessed to have him. So blessed to be part of all of that.
The whole state was lucky to have him.
I know.
Auburn fans are lucky to have him, even though they don't realize that.
Well, you beat him. He beat Tennessee 16 out of 17 years, and I heard a Tennessee fan talking about, hey, it was so great to beat him. And I get it, man. when you beat Alabama, you did something.
Oh, yeah.
Michigan beat Alabama. They did something. You know, they came up with the big plays at the end of the game. And just as I predicted, and no offense to Coach DeBoer, but they weren't going to beat Michigan or Alabama.
In the last 5 to 10 years, when Alabama loses, what percentage of the time was the field rushed? I'd like to know that.
Well, on the road every time.
I mean, was it 100%?
Well, on the road, yeah. I think so.
That's what I'm asking. I mean, that's when you know how much it means to a fan
LSU and Tennessee. Base. This year we lost at home and in the Rose Bowl, so they didn't get rushed. 2 years ago, we lost 2021. We lost to Georgia.
I mean, you sit there and you think about it. When you lose to a team on the road and their fan base rushes the field, and you're a player, which I never really thought about this when I was playing, but now when I think about it, it's like, dude, your own fan base thought you were going to lose.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
right.
You got lucky and beat us this time.
Yeah, right. Or you played a hell of a game, whatever. Yeah. I mean, I don't remember us losing on the road and not. I mean,
Tennessee, Ole Miss. Trying to remember the games we lost.
It's not many. But 2021 is the only game
LSU,
we lost that year.
LSU rushed the field too.
But both games we lost.
When LSU rushes the field, that's pretty bad.
That's scary.
That's pretty bad.
Did you see those idiots? The videos they were making, like, just like taunting players, and I mean, you talk about a group of people that don't get out much. Like, I'm watching these grown men act like fools.
One of the worst ones is that LSU fan.
You saw that guy,
giving Ronnie Harrison.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
After we won.
Oh, after you won.
After we won, and Ronnie Harrison's like saying hello to family and friends, and there's some LSU probably 45-year-old guy standing at the gate. Instead of heading back to his car and heading back to the house,
right.
He's standing at the gate giving some 21-year-old shit about beating LSU. Like,
right. Somebody, I think maybe it was Chad on my channel was talking about how he was at a game and we won. And maybe it was 2008 when we beat them down there, and some lady that was like 70 was just giving him the middle finger. Somebody's grandmother. She's just firing the middle finger up at him. That's what makes it fun, though. Do you think Brian Kelly's gonna go to Michigan? I mean, we heard rumors of it, but that'd be a lot of.
Imagine.
I don't know.
That's a lot of moving. Hell, who knows? But you got to. I mean, Coach Saban's gone now. It's a pretty good window of opportunity, right there.
Yeah, right. You might as well just stick it out. It's going to be a new world, though. Texas and Oklahoma in the conference, some big games next year.
I love these. I love the new schedules.
It's a lot of good games.
Oh yeah, it's gonna. I mean, every weekend,
there's be some big ones.
Yeah, you're not gonna have a weekend where the best game of the week is and two good teams, but you're not gonna like Kentucky and Ole Miss playing each other. You're gonna have like Georgia and Florida, Kentucky, Ole Miss.
Right. Yeah, you're saying that weekend where you're like, all right,
Tennessee, Oklahoma. Like you're gonna have 2 or 3 games a week.
Alabama.
Where you're not just waiting on one 6 o'clock game that there's a good game between, again, Kentucky, Oklahoma, or whatever. I mean, you're going to have multiple the whole day is going to be full of great games, and the players are going to enjoy it more.
Yeah, right. What are we going to do with ourselves? Just watch a lot of good football coming up.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be interesting. I can't wait to see what things look like at the 8A game. And I got to give our fan base a lot of credit. I love the fact that they all showed up.
Think about this. There were more people at the airport in Tuscaloosa to welcome Coach DeBoer. I still got to get the name
DeBoer.
right.
Yeah, you got it.
DeBoer. There was more people at the airport to welcome him to Tuscaloosa than there were at Washington spring game last year.
Yeah, somebody said that. I didn't know if that was true or not. Is that real? I mean, wow.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
And then you put people at the Mount Moore complex. We need to get out and be at the 8A game like we did with Coach Saban. And I remember I was there. It was like a sellout at the 8A game.
I think there was 90,000 people there.
It was unbelievable. It was awesome.
90,000 people for a spring game.
Yeah. How about
he has to have a feeling of like, I mean, there had to have been a no shit moment at some point in the last week for him where he's like, oh my God, this is the real deal right here.
Yeah, right.
You
like,
know? Because I don't know. You correct me if I'm wrong, but man, I don't know of a better atmosphere, better place in terms of college football in the country than Alabama.
I don't either. I mean, I'm with you.
I mean, to me, it's the capital of college football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And people can, I mean, look, you know, USC had a good run. I mean, I know LSU's big on football, but Alabama is just, to me, a whole different realm of royalty when you start talking about Alabama, when you talk about college football.
I thought it was interesting that Reggie Bush tweeted out that he thought Nick Saban was leaving because of NIL and transfer portal and that he wouldn't be able to handle all of that. And honestly, man, Reggie, I was all about you getting your Heisman back. I had your back. Now I think you're a clown. You're so wrong. Like, you just don't know what you're talking about. Like, there has nothing. I really don't think it has anything to do with that. I think the fact is that he can't do the things that he wants to do because he's 72. Look at people that are 72.
I agree. I don't think NIL is pushing him out. I know he's very frustrated with it.
Well, who wouldn't be?
But
that's not.
But
why
I think
he's
if he was taking it on at 55 rather than 72, he'd be all about it. And if he didn't have to deal with that now, I think he may stick around for a few more years. But to manage the NIL, just recruiting alone, NIL on that on the other side, then coaching too, hiring and firing personnel. I mean, college football, being a college football coach is, man, to manage all that would be damn near impossible. To do everything well, to master everything. And I think he's got a real issue with not being good at any one particular part of his program, of program management. And I think he kind of felt like he didn't have the energy to manage every single moving piece the way he used to. And NIL just added to that.
Man, I go out and throw the ball with my son and I'm tired. I mean, think being 72 and doing all this. He said after the Iron Bowl, he's like, I'm tired.
Oh, yeah.
And we got to get ready again. You know, like, I believe him.
He's going through a full day staff meeting. I mean, from 6 a.m. on till after practice at 6 p.m. Done, takes a shower, hops on a helicopter to fly God knows where to recruit after that until 10 o'clock and then fly back, go to sleep, do it all over again. Can you imagine that every day?
No, I couldn't. And I'm tired thinking about it.
If I was getting paid $8 million a year, I mean,
you'd make it work, but you would make it work until you couldn't.
Oh yeah, but to do that every day, being away from your family nonstop, I mean, that would take a toll on you.
I'm just never going to buy into him running from anything. I just don't think that. I don't think he's running from anything. That's what Reggie Bush was implying, and he's not running from anything. He's 72.
Yeah.
My grandfather. Look, my grandfather was my best friend. He died at 74.
Yeah.
And this guy's 72.
Well, he's always on the forefront of everything.
Yeah.
And instead of finding things to complain about, he's the one figuring out how to make it work to his advantage.
That's right.
In every realm of the game.
Yeah.
Like every time a new rule pops up, he's got it figured out before everybody else does.
Yeah. Like, it's not like we didn't just see him pull in the number 2 class. It's not like we didn't see him like keep everybody that he wanted to keep. It's not like he wasn't just in the college football playoff again. Now, to his standard, 5 years ago, they beat Michigan and won the national championship. I really believe that. I just think that at this age, it was a little more difficult to do the things that it was going to take for everything to work out the way that it needed to.
And you're also working with a different class of kids.
You're different kids, different coaches too, man. I mean, like, I know you had Kevin Steele, but
I know the guys in the 80s would talk about how soft our generation is, and they are probably right to a certain degree. I mean, when I was coming through, I mean, there was nothing off limits. And when you talk about what coaches could say to kids or do, and And to me, it wasn't, it was just something it made you better. You got better from it. Either you got better from it or you left or you didn't make it.
Yeah.
And if you endured it, you came out stronger. And that was part of the whole deal. It was, I think it made a lot of kids that were struggling and trying to figure it out, when they just endured it and made it through and started thriving, it made them a lot better kids when they came out. But nowadays, I just feel, especially when you just up and leave, kids don't even have time to manage all that. Understand that it's all going to be okay after a coach just wears your ass out over and over and over again, and makes you better. And finally, you're able to deal with that, and you're good, and nothing bothers you anymore.
Yeah, right.
Kids don't even have that opportunity to get better in that aspect of their life, where they're just, I'm pissed, I'm leaving, And again, I went through that with Jimbo. It was, I had some, he was on my ass a lot.
Yeah, right.
And when I talk about leaving that year prior, the best thing I ever did was stay there and manage that situation, grow, and become a better person because of it. And
Mm-hmm.
I love Jimbo. I think Jimbo's a great guy. I really appreciate what he did for me and love him to death. And
let's get him on the podcast.
Huh?
I said, let's get him on the podcast.
Oh yeah. But had I not stayed and figured out, kind of in a way how soft I was, I'd have never had that perspective. But you got to push through some of that. And there's just, I realize you're giving kids more freedom, and it sounds all good and all, but to a certain degree, it's kind of a detriment as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
more of a detriment, I think, than a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely, when it comes to discipline and stuff, I've definitely softened as I've gotten older about the way that you talk to people and the way that you motivate them. And, and because this generation doesn't really respond as well to getting yelled at and talked down to. And, it's more like you got to explain to them what you want and kind of put it out there. And if they don't deliver, then you move on from them, instead of trying to constantly dig in someone's ass. And it just doesn't work like that all the time. But everybody's motivated in a different way, which Coach Saban was great at that.
But, again, once you get out in the real world and you know that people, a lot of times, there's a lot of really good people that are really, really tough people too. And you don't, when you just, you judge by your first impression and you don't give it time, and you're not tough enough to stick it out and figure out who they really are, no matter what kind of relationship is, whether it's business or whatever it may be. You're not going to get to know these people and learn from them and grow as a person,
Yeah.
Would you, when you're growing up, I'm sure you've, got your, in the time you're growing up, I know that you got your fair share of ass rippings and
and I never liked it.
Nobody liked it.
I never liked it. And
nobody likes it. But at the end of the day, do you think it was good for you, or do you think it was something you could have done without?
Me personally, I could have done without it. But I'm different. I'm just don't respond to that. But then again, sometimes it's motivating to prove people wrong. At the same time, I don't know, the best coaching I had was from people that cared about me, and I felt like they cared about me, hey, here's it's just me personally.
Yeah.
I liked it when they're like, hey man, here's what we're trying to do. Here's what you're doing. And here's what we need.
Yeah.
But I'm different, but everybody's different. I've been around people that you had when you're on their ass, that's the only way that you can get anything out of them.
Yeah. I guess my approach to it is that if, something's not working out, especially I'll say, my first 2 years at Florida State, when I was happy there. I loved, again, I've already covered this, love those guys, loved everything about it, except, Jimbo is just on my ass nonstop.
Right.
And I, you got to start thinking, all right, well, how am I going to make this work? And are you the problem, or, I mean, do you really think people are just out here to get you? And do I tailor my approach to get this shit done, or do I just sit in the corner and cry about it? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that's the case, but when you really do a deep dive into what the real issue is, a lot of times it's your fault. And everything that happens to you, in my opinion, is your fault.
Yeah, right.
And so again, what you going to do?
Well, let me say this, and then I want to talk about Chris Stewart for a second. I thought he did a great job at the introductory press conference. I would give him a shout out on that. But power is having the ability to get people to do the things that you need them to do.
Yeah.
That's something that I learned a long time ago. And I feel like I've been a pretty good leader in my life. Mm-hmm. And it takes different avenues to get there.
Yeah.
And so I guess for me, if I just feel like for me to put together a staff doing, sports or doing whatever I'm doing, I just want to try to find people that bring positive energy, that are willing to learn, that are coachable, and that are all on the same page when it comes to success. So I know at this age, the type of person that I need too, that I want to be around, that I want the group to be around.
Yeah.
And maybe that's kind of what Coach DeBoer does, because he wins with teams that aren't necessarily, the number one recruiting class. Not to say that that's a good way to do it, but it's not the only way to do it. Like it used to be, you had to have the number one recruiting class on signing day to win a national championship. Well, Michigan never had the number one recruiting class, but they found a group of people that all bought into the same thing. And that's why they won. When they needed to make big plays against Alabama, they did it, but they did that all year. But Alabama's done the same thing. Your team did that. You guys were the team in 2015 and then in the 16 championship game that made the big plays. You had the onside kick. You had the Kenyon Drake run. You had the passes when you needed them in that championship game. And you had Derrick Henry. That didn't hurt either. But you know what I mean? Like,
always a plus.
Yeah, it never hurts. So I mean, I don't know. I think there's different ways to get to the top. And each person has to do what's best for them. And I feel like that Coach DeBoer is definitely equipped to deal with this day and age of person. But we'll find out. It's going to be interesting to see how he works with the roster that he has. I think that it's going to be a lot like Saban and Shula's teams. Shula left a lot of those guys. They won a national championship in 2009, and that was a special team. Special team, because they had a choice to buy in or not buy in.
Yep. And
that's what this team's going to have to decide, because they haven't won a championship since 2000. Are they going to buy in? This guy was in the game. So technically he was closer to winning than Alabama was. They all have that in common. That's what they all need to kind of use to bond together, because they all have that same terrible feeling that you have when you're that damn good. And all four of those teams could have won a national championship, but it was Michigan that won. That's what I hope that this team finds, is that they find that commonality. And we want to hold the trophy next year. And if they do that, I think they will.
The teams is I was about to say, when you have a team that's not as talented but is there, that's a hard team to beat, because they're always in the right spot. Mm-hmm. They're always communicating. Yeah, right. They know exactly where they're going to be.
When they play for each other.
Oh yeah, and usually that's a good group of guys too.
Mm-hmm. When the goal, when you can put yourself and your best interests aside for the team.
Oh yeah,
that's what you're looking for.
Oh,
and that's what those guys did. That's what you guys did. And so we'll find out what that looks like. Press conference. I thought Chris Stewart was awesome, man. He's
I didn't see it.
He looked great, man. He was all decked out in like a crimson suit. He's got like a clothing deal now. Next level guy, man. But great job, Chris Stewart, bringing us in and emceeing that thing. Because I know I've been in those spots before where you're like, you're up on stage and there's so many people watching, and you think like doing play-by-play would make you good at like speaking. And then everybody in the whole world of college football is watching you. So good job to him, man. And they have a show. Him and Kelly have a show on the channel as well. So make sure you guys check that out. But kudos to him and Roll Tide, man. Any final thoughts? I mean, I think we've done an hour and a half and we kind of hit it all. This was kind of our, evaluation show. Maybe our next show we'll let loose a little bit more like normal.
Yeah. It's I'll finish it off with kind of an agreement with Booker. Been there, thought about transferring and all that, but really reevaluate if I was if I am a player at Alabama, what do you really want? And, if you're having issues, you got to, take a deep down look at yourself and see if you're the problem or if you really think that the best move is just finding a new place or making the most of. Have you really done everything that you can do to be the best player you can be at Alabama? And until you start doing that, you really can't evaluate yourself and think about going to a different spot.
Yeah, well said. Besides that, I'm telling you, the grass is always greener on the septic tank. You're in the best place you could possibly be in Tuscaloosa. All right, guys, that does it for Elephant in the Room. We'll be back again later this week. Make sure that you, again, like and follow. Throw questions, comments in the comment section. We really appreciate all of you guys. Don't forget, we're brought to you by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Use the promo code NEXTROUND to get up to 50% to $1,000 price match on that initial bet. You got all the things that are going on right now, the NFL playoffs, which are going to be really exciting this weekend. You got college basketball, the NBA, NASCAR, soccer overseas, and they have it all there for you as well. And don't forget our buddy Lance and Lance's Lock, where he'll give you those picks, man, and you can either use them or use it to give yourself some perspective, maybe just a little more ammo as you make those picks. But anyway, I'm Mick Gillispie. He's Jay Coker. We really appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you again really soon. Roll Tide.